Good evening. I call to order the business meeting of the Cave Creek Unified School District Number 93 Governing Board. It's Monday, September 12th, 2022, and it's 6 o'clock. 1.2 roll call. There are 3 board members present. President Hatcher, Vice President Fortney, and Member Brown are present. Members Busby and Walker are absent. There is a quorum, so we can conduct business. Present from the cabinet are Dr. Monroe, Dr. Jensen, Ms. Rodriguez, and Mrs. Scott. Item 1.3, formal adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
Madam President, I'm sorry, may I make an adjustment to the consent agenda before we adopt?
Okay.
So for the enrollment report, that is 4.7 on the agenda. I've submitted to the board a revised enrollment report. The adjustment that was made, there was a revision to the total line for underclass sizes.
Okay, thank you. And we all have that, right? You all have that? Yeah, okay. Okay, so thank you. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as presented now?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor say, a motion has been made to adopt the agenda as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Motion carries. The agenda is adopted as presented. Call to fill out forms for call to the public. I have a couple, so there will be an admonition read in a few minutes. 1.5, Pledge of Allegiance. Aiden Schur, a student leader from Cactus Shadows, will lead us in the pledge. Thank you, Aiden. 1.6, President's Report. I attended the Black Mountain Patriots Day the other day, and every year that just gets better and better, and doesn't seem like it can, but it does. Mr. Owsley and his staff do such a great job in honoring our first responders, and it was packed. So thank you to Mr. Owsley and his staff, and to the first responders. Also, congratulations to Olivia Payson. She's a 7th grader who won first place on the mountain bike team competition. So I think it's neat that our district has a mountain bike competition. And then I've visited with a couple of businesses to thank them for supporting our district. So thank you for their support. And that's it for me. 1.7, board comments.
Well, I will just mention that on this previous Saturday, I had the honor of representing CCUSD as the ASBA delegate for their adoption of their political agenda, and so we were there for a good chunk of the day working on that to make sure that our legislators hear from the school boards about what we need to make us work better. So that was it for me.
Thank you. Member Brown.
Well, since the last governing board meeting, I attended a couple of school district events way back Thursday night at Sonoran Trails, the curriculum night, which was about half of an event until the storm blew in and we had to get off campus. Friday morning at Lone Mountain Elementary, I was there to celebrate what was then their 20th school year celebration. For those of you that don't know, my family and my 2 children were part of the first group of students on LMES campus back in the day. So it's always great to go back and see the facility, but it really makes me feel old sometimes. The following Friday, I was up at the high school for the athletic teams and club rush that was put on over the noontime hour. Principal Barella and I walked around and saw lots of great clubs that's on campus. And it was an exciting lunchtime for the students to come out and see all the different clubs that they can get involved with. And then, like Member Hatcher, I also attended the Black Mountain Patriots Day event Friday morning. And every year that just keeps growing and getting bigger and bigger. It was a standing room only crowd in their gymnasium for the ceremony, and the songs from the student body were really neat. The kids did a great job. And then, while not really a school district event, but this past Saturday was the first week for the Cave Creek youth football and cheerleading season, and I've been involved with that since its beginning. This is now our 20th year of serving our community. We have 6 full 11-man tackle football teams and another 45 cheerleaders that are in our organization this year. And this is a community-based program. These aren't club teams. So a huge majority of these kids in our program are part of our Cave Creek elementary schools and middle school. We ask the kids on Friday to wear their jerseys to school. I know that's always a great day. They get excited about doing that. Over the past years, we've been the starting point, not only just for future Falcons, but for many of the Cave Creek student athletes. Some go on to play football, but we have several others that will go play baseball, basketball, volleyball, run track, and of course, we've had plenty of our youth cheerleaders move up to the middle school and the high school and win state championships as cheerleaders. So it's an outstanding program. It's kids ages 6 to 14, and it's not just being athletes. They become great student leaders at Sonoran Trails and at Cactus Shadows, and there's a whole line of kids that have come up through our program that I'm very proud of. So that's it. Thank you.
Item 1.8, Superintendent's Report, Dr. Monroe.
Yeah, President Hatcher, members of the board, I have a few celebrations to share among the wonderful things that are happening within our school district. And then I'd like to show a quick 2-minute video that celebrates just how awesome our district is. But I'd like to congratulate Jules Rodriguez and Maya Choa. They are seniors. They'll be the graduating class of 2022. These 2 students are recipients of the College Board National Hispanic Recognition Award because of their academic achievements in school and their outstanding performance on the PSAT, as well as their AP exams. I'd like to congratulate Ken Doss. Ken Doss is our lead mechanic who works in transportation. He was recognized in a national publication of School Transportation News, the August edition. This is a great honor for us, and we're proud to have Mr. Doss's caliber of individual working for our district. The transportation director, Danny Moore, wrote this in his nomination. Ken enjoys driving routes when he can. He's an active member of our community. He attends sporting events, board meetings, and he follows up on any new information in the field. Our district is currently struggling with a very aged fleet of buses, and Ken is assisting the department in facilitating grants to bridge the gap with a few new buses while we wait for the opportunity to purchase new buses for our fleet. We're celebrating 30 years of a relationship with the Carefree Cave Creek Chamber of Commerce. Patty Villeneuve, who's the president and CEO of the chamber, presented me with a certificate at the August 18th chamber board meeting on behalf of the relationship between Cave Creek Unified and the Chamber of Commerce. 30 years. We're very, very proud of that relationship with our business partners. And this was touched on earlier, but I'm very, very proud as the superintendent that all of our schools on Friday celebrated or commemorated, better yet, the events of 9/11 and helping our students understand the events of that day and showing appreciation for both our first responders and our military personnel. We've already heard about the 11th annual parade at Black Mountain with Mr. Owsley and his staff. The other elementary schools, they wrote letters to our first responders. They had a spirit day wearing red, white, and blue, and had a moment of silence near at the announcements. Sonoran Trails Middle School, as well as Cactus Shadows High School, also participated in a spirit day by wearing red, white, and blue. During the morning announcements, there was a script read about the events of 9/11, as our students were not born during that time when that occurred. And there was a moment of silence. As a superintendent, I'm very proud of the patriotism and the values being instilled in our school in remembering these events and what makes our country great. Finally, we have override presentations that are factual that we're presenting to the community. Just want to throw a few dates out there. At the Holland Center on September the 14th at 3 o'clock, September the 28th at 5 o'clock. Mrs. Rodriguez and I will be presenting a factual presentation to any community members who are interested. And then at the Desert Foothills Library in Cave Creek on September the 20th at noon and October 17th at 10 a.m. for community members to come and learn about the facts of the override. So without further ado, Mrs. Celsi, if you want to put on our video here, see if our technology works.
As a coach, I understand the value of teamwork. As a professional football player, it was great having great athletes, but the key to winning is teamwork.
We have a saying around here that Cave Creek cares for kids, and I know from experience that those are more than just words. I see people from all walks of life working towards one goal, to help our kids get the best education they can.
Thanks, Jill. As a police officer, I've seen firsthand that having a safe and healthy school district is a direct result of having a safe and healthy community, and vice versa. It's everybody working together to make this a better place to live.
I continue to be amazed at how this community steps up time and time again when volunteers are needed. It's parents and students and teachers all working together. As the old saying goes, it's teamwork that makes the dream work.
To me, having healthy schools is beneficial for everyone. It creates jobs, which is good, but more importantly, it's people working together to build a better future for our community.
The schools around here bring so many good things to the community, and the community brings a lot of great things to the school district. That's what it means to be one team.
Thanks for caring about me and making learning fun. I love my teachers and I love my school.
It's true. Cave Creek cares for kids, and working together as one team is why we were voted once again as the best school district in the North Valley.
Thank you. I'll actually be attending the Emmys next week. Let's see if we receive an award. But on a serious note, we're really proud of the video series we're engaged in. We really want to feature our students, our teachers, our programs, our leaders. There's a lot of great things that happen at our district. So we'll continue to bring these videos to the board that showcase the wonderful things that happen. And last but certainly not least, I'd like to introduce Aiden Shore. President Hatcher introduced her before, but she's a senior from Cactus Shadows High School, and she is the student leader that is sitting on the dais tonight. So Aiden, why don't you pull the microphone close to you and turn on the green light, and just speak real close into the microphone there.
Hi everyone, my name is Aiden Shore and I'm a senior at Cactus Shadows High School. I'm so honored to be sitting here on the dais tonight as the first student leader of the governing board. Over my 4 years of being a Falcon, I have realized that there is a place for everyone at Cactus Shadows, whether that be on the football team or on student council. However, for me, I had to work to create a place for myself at Cactus Shadows. I chose to be part of the International Baccalaureate program, which requires you to take some of the most rigorous classes available at Cactus Shadows. Over my 2 years in this program, I have created strong ties of friendship with my peers and my teachers. I'm so happy that Cactus Shadows has provided me with this opportunity to find my place within the IB program. Additionally, I founded a chapter of Amnesty International at Cactus Shadows. This club has worked to create a sense of community between like-minded individuals at Cactus Shadows and is a home for students who don't feel accepted anywhere else. I am so happy that our school now has a chapter so future students can find their place at Cactus Shadows within Amnesty. Lastly, I'm the co-president of the Environmental Club at our school. In this club, our members work to create a green and clean campus where all students can learn and thrive. As my time as Cactus Shadows is coming to a close, I am so thankful that the school has allowed me to create my own place in IB, Amnesty International, and Environmental Club.
We are really proud of Aiden. She tells me that she's applying to many universities, including NYU, Columbia, Boston College. Is that about right? So Aiden is a tremendous student, and we're so glad that of the leader and the individual that she is and that she can join us tonight. And Mrs. Hatcher, that's my superintendent report.
Thank you. Item 2.1, call to the public. We have 3, so each speaker has, we have 4. 3 minutes each, so I need to read an admonition. According to ARS 38-431.01H, governing board members may not discuss or take legal action on matters raised during an open call to the public. The only allowable responses a governing board member may make are, number 1, board member may respond if there is a direct criticism of the board member. 2, board member may direct staff to look into a matter. Or 3, board member can ask to have this item placed on a future agenda. Speakers need to be mindful of what they say when presenting to the board. Inappropriate comments could be considered slanderous. So, first speaker, Don Brown. And Mr. Brown, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. The reason I felt compelled to come up here is we've got an election coming up, and I've been a member of this community since 1995. I've never really had a child attend a Cave Creek Unified School, although my son played at Sonoran Trails for basketball when it first opened way back then. But I've had lots of nephews and nieces that have come through here, and in fact I left Scottsdale area to move here in 1995 because at that time people paid out of district tuition to attend this school district. The fact that this school district was so strong was really a motivation for my family to have housing here. And by the time my kids got old enough to attend, some things had changed and we went a different route. That doesn't mean that I don't care about the schools that are here. I generally vote for most of the things that support the school district. And I was here a few months ago, and one of the board members saw fit to call me an outsider. And I was trying to figure out just where did I fit in that. I just listened to a long dissertation for the football program that isn't part of the school district, but when I'd mentioned back then that I volunteered for the basketball program that is a similar program, I was kind of dismissed on that. So I'm just saying that even though I've never had a kid attend the school, people like me, our votes are important to get these bonds passed, these overrides passed, and to be dismissed like that was really, I thought, something that a board member should be a little more aware of. So that's all I have to say on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person is Brooke Leyland. It's like an O-I.
Excuse me, President Hatcher. There's there's one attached to
Oh, I
Ms.
see.
Leyland's.
Okay, 2 stapled together. All right, so Brooke and Allison Massog or Massoy. So you would have 6 minutes.
Go as fast as I can. Oh shoot. Hold on. Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the board members for their service. With board elections around the corner, I feel it is essential to review the concerns that have been brought to my attention, and I have also witnessed throughout the attendance during the last year's board's meetings. And I'm really grateful for the people in the room because they have the opportunity to hear what the concerns are. As a parent, we need board members here to support our school and our administration and clearly understand how their actions impact the children and the families in this community. A candidate should never vote no to a bond when having full access to the district financial records and the capability to ask questions and that indicate the need for the bond so that the district can meet the basic needs of our children. It makes me furious to learn that a board member would vote against paying teachers during a pandemic, and the board member would continuously question pay increases for teachers, knowing very well that our district is among the lowest paying throughout the state. A board member should never state to a large group of community members, our superintendent tells me we don't teach CRT in our schools. But I only trust him as far as I can throw him. If you have a problem working with our superintendent, you have no business sitting on our school board, as the position requires working with our school administration. This sends the wrong message to parents and community members that they shouldn't trust our administration and our teachers. This is disrespectful, not only to our superintendent, but to our teachers as well, and goes back to clearly understanding that you're dealing with children's lives, not trying to win a political vote. A board member should never solicit money for the community project and then abandon the project, especially a project that compromises the district's trademark. We need board members that understand boundaries and respect our teachers along with students. Our campuses should not be turned into political showcasings and be continuously toured. A classroom should not be disrupted by members to fulfill their individual needs. Schools are a place of learning. The role of sitting on the school board should not be taken lightly, especially in this day and age. I want to encourage our candidates and our board members to think long and hard about if they are the right candidate to support our district. Do they have the knowledge and the educational experience to understand and collaborate with administration to ensure our teachers have what they need to meet our children's educational needs? And if you do not, then I ask respectfully that you identify and withdraw your candidacy for the sake of our community and our children of this district. And I will say that my son said I had to say thank you. But I also want to go back to that lovely presentation, Dr. Monroe, that was just right there. That is the one. If you're not up here to work with our administration and for the teachers, then what do you have? Why are you here as a district? Or sorry, as board members? And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Next speaker, Kathleen Thorius, 3 minutes.
Thanks, President Hatcher and Dr. Monroe and members of the board. I've been here before, and typically I have what I might call a loving critique of several things going on in the district, but I do like to think that I try to stay engaged and informed. I'm here tonight with appreciation, and that's what I'm going to dedicate my time to. First, I want to appreciate the board and your unanimous decision to place the override on the ballot. You listened to and heard from our community, and particularly our excellence community, in making that recommendation. And a unanimous decision across the board, we know, is unfortunately too rare an occurrence these days. So my appreciation for that. Second, I want to appreciate the district. I have noticed in the last year or so increases in the frequency and the forms of communication, from the financial and budget presentations that are frequent and very clear with and for our publics, to the locations of and the forms of communications out in our community, the presence of our board members and our administrators at community and district events and the like. And I appreciate that. It means a lot to me. The next thing I want to appreciate are our educators and our administrators in our buildings. Our child goes to Black Mountain Elementary School, which was mentioned earlier today. Mr. Matt Owsley has been a tremendous leader in this community for the past over a decade now, and I really appreciate. I'm a professor of education at Indiana University. I know it's a very tough time to be a teacher, to enter the field of teaching, and our educators have done so much with what they have in a district and a state where education continues to be funded, as we know, in the top 5% or so of states in the United States. And finally, I want to appreciate our students. Aiden, I very much appreciate you being here today. It's leaders like you and all of our students taking initiative to build coalitions and communities within our schools, and also to work with administration who's making space for you figuratively and literally here on the dais tonight. But thank you so much to our students for being part of our community and our governance. Thanks. I'll be back, I'm sure, another time, but for now I'll leave it at that. Take care.
From a Boilermaker to a Hoosier, thank you. Okay. Item 3, presentations, information, reports, and awards. 3.1, September Students of the Month, presented by me, Beth Hatcher. And this is something that's kind of new. Normally we have one student per month. And this time, the district has adopted a new tradition which enables students from each school to be recognized monthly. And then the board will also participate with you. So I'm going to read something from my seat. The board will come down here, and then I'll call each student up individually for you to get your recognition and a picture, and we'll go from there. So here we go. The mission of the Cave Creek Unified School District is to provide an innovative, high-quality learning experience for all students. By facilitating strategies to develop curious, resilient, critical thinking problem solvers, students will be empowered to make a difference while inspiring excellence in our families, community, and the world. In Cave Creek Unified School District, we believe that every learner is unique and deserves the power to shape a personal path toward success. Abraham Lincoln once said, "I do the very best I know how, the very best I can, and I mean to keep on doing so until the end." We know that these students being recognized here tonight exhibit great character, do their very best, and inspire excellence through their effort, achievement, and service to others. These students receive this recognition and nomination from their individual teacher or teachers and principals at their own school, and we recognize them here tonight. So they are the best, and the reason that each one of us serves on the school board. Truly, they inspire excellence. So the board is going to come down right now, and then I'll call each name individually. Okay. Take this one. Okay, the first person is Ashton Cope from Black Mountain Elementary School. The next person is Tesher Niffen from Lone Mountain Elementary School. And the next person is Ben Woolston from Horseshoe Trails Elementary School.
Sweetie, come over here. See President Hatcher. Congratulations, buddy. And right over here.
See Mr. Next person is Sophia Garcia from Desert Sun Academy. Next student is Harrison Blackburn from Desert Willow Elementary School. Congratulations, Harrison.
Very good. And this is Member Brown.
The next student, Blaze Bessemer from Sonoran Trails Middle School. Congratulations, Blaze.
Thank you. Member Brown.
Next student, Noah Edgen, Cactus Shadows High School. The next student, this is the last student, Grant Pfeiffer from Cactus Shadows High School. Congratulations, Grant. That's right. Okay. So we're going to get a group picture now, right? So if parents would like to take individual pictures, right, with their principal or the teachers, we'll take a few minutes to do that now.
And then we'll start the meeting in just a few minutes. So we'll kind of break and recess, so if you want to leave or get a picture, we can do that.
That was good. I like that because more kids can get recognized. That's such a good idea. I don't know who thought it up, but it's a good idea. The little boy. Oh. Yeah, they kind of do look alike. I know. Yeah. We're going to begin in about a minute. That was nice. Yeah, that's. The kids are cute. Yeah, they're cute. Yeah, they're cute. So cute. Alrighty. As soon as our folks get seated. See, we lost Miss Rodriguez. There she is. Are we ready? That was good, and that's why we're here. We'll resume now. Item 3.2, Paradise Valley Community College presentation presented by Miss Nancy Scott, Dr. Doug Berry, and Dr. Tiffany Hunter.
All right, Dr. Berry, are you ready to take the show after that? I am very excited to have Dr. Doug Berry, who is the Vice President of Academic Affairs from Paradise Valley Community College, and our brand new President of Paradise Valley Community College, Dr. Tiffany Hunter. So if we could give her a round of applause. She's in her 8th week, if you can believe it, and she has come in and hit the floor running. And Mr. Berry, Dr. Berry, I've had the opportunity to work with him for the past year, and we just have built a wonderful partnership that he's going to discuss with you today. So I am going to hand it over to you.
All right, thank you. President Hatcher, a member of the board, Dr. Monroe, thank you for having us tonight to share a little bit about Paradise Valley Community College and the partnership that we have and continue to cultivate with CCUSD. As mentioned, I'm Doug Berry. I serve as the Interim Vice President of Academic Affairs at Paradise Valley. This is my 2nd year in that role, and I've been with the Maricopa Community College District since 2005. Dr. Hunter has recently joined us. She brings over 21 years of higher education experience, including stops in Florida and most recently in Ohio, where she was the Provost and Chief Academic Officer. So we're very excited at the college for Dr. Hunter, her insight, her experience, and her energy that she's bringing to not only bolster the institution, but also the North Valley. So I'm going to share a few highlights of the college and the system, and then also our partnership that we have and where we want to go in the future. Paradise Valley Community College is one of 10 Maricopa community colleges. We are independently accredited. In any given year, we have between 75,000 and 100,000 students go through Maricopa County, making us one of the largest community college districts in the country. Paradise Valley Community College, you can see our numbers on the screen. This fall, we're at about 5,500 students again, which is down slightly from what we're used to, which is a national trend right now post-pandemic. And again, we're working hard on retention, persistence, and completion at the college to get those numbers up. A few other highlights on there I'd like to point out. Most of our students are part-time. Again, that's very consistent across the Maricopa District. When we consult our students, 70 to 75% of them are working at least one job in addition to attending college. So we are trying to build flexible pathways for them so they can enter and exit and complete in a time frame that works for them. We have a large number of students that do come directly from high school as freshmen into the college, but you can see our average age is 26. So a large majority of our students are adults who have some college education but no degree, or a college degree in education, and they come back to retool or re-career. And our class size there is about 14 to 1. So our instructors, our faculty members at the college are experts in their fields. Many of them hold PhDs or terminal degrees in the areas they teach. And so they are able to provide very close one-on-one instruction in the classroom with such low class sizes, which is a goal of ours. And finally, I'll point out that nearly half of our students are first generation. So the first individual in their family to attend college. And so it's our mission to make sure that they are welcomed and they feel included and have all the wraparound support that they need to be successful as they go through the academic process, which is very new to them. We are a fully comprehensive community college, meaning we offer university transfer pathways. Majority of our students do matriculate into ASU. But we also offer a wide number of CTE, or career and technical education degrees and certificates that can put students directly in the workforce. That is a growing area at Paradise Valley. We were founded as a transfer institution, but over time, particularly now with the job market, our CTE programs actually exceed those students that come in for university transfer. The third leg of that offering is the personal development and community relations. So many students come to Paradise Valley for personal enrichment, or they come for community resources, or just professional development. We have all the wraparound services that you might expect from a college or university, including academic advising, career counseling. We do basic needs services, which has been a huge must during the pandemic, and we continue forward with that even now. We know that many of our students stop out of school not because of academics, but because life happens. So we are trying to mitigate that loss as much as possible by providing those wraparound services to them. With career experiences, we are front-loading that in the academic experience. We don't want them to go through 2 years of school before they get their first foot in a classroom, for example, if they're in education, or somewhere in a hospital if they're in nursing. We want them to experience the career field early on so they know if this is the right choice for them, rather than spending so much time and money in school as they go forward. So all of our wraparound services, our faculty and staff are committed. We do this in person, and we also continue to offer our services virtually. So it was something that started during the pandemic, but out of convenience for our students and community members, we continue to offer all of these services virtually as well. So one of the highlights here tonight is our Black Mountain location. Paradise Valley offers classes not only at the Union Hills location and also at Fresh Start, and now the Federal Corrections Institute for incarcerated inmates. But we've had campus less than a mile down the road now since 2009, and that's really been a great partnership with CCUSD. We started as a partnership with the Holland Center and the YMCA, and those partnerships continue to grow on that physical space. You can see the blue buildings there on the map. Those are the Paradise Valley offices and classrooms. That second one to the left, that is the more recent addition, which includes state-of-the-art labs, has a tutoring and academic support center. And you go a little bit further out there on the pad, and we have a dome telescope, one of the few down here in Phoenix where we use our astronomy classes, but we also offer community events such as star parties. We actually have a star party coming up on the 29th, so weather permitting, I would encourage you to attend. It's a great family event, and members of the community who also share the same passion come out with their equipment and show off many of the fascinating things that we can see up at the Black Mountain location. At any given time, we serve between 250 to 300 students at that location, and much of that is due to our partnership with Cactus Shadows High School and the school district. So the way we've engaged the school district is through dual enrollment and concurrent enrollment, as well as transfer as students graduate from the high school. On the screen is just an example of a schedule that might be available at Black Mountain that we try to offer immediately following the early release for seniors at the high school, as well as some juniors. So we want to make sure if they want to get a jump on their college education, that they can do so less than a mile down the road. And we typically focus on our general education courses. We're really cognizant of providing college courses that will lead to a degree or certificate, so the students aren't accumulating just random college credit. So we want to make sure these are going to be courses that transfer and courses that the students will use. So that might be an example of concurrent enrollment. Dual enrollment, which has doubled, just talking to Ms. Scott before the meeting, this last year, is when high school students take a class at the high school taught by the high school instructor who is qualified by our accrediting agency, where they earn high school credit and also college credit on their Maricopa transcript. And again, that college credit with our university partners will transfer directly into the school. Out of state will transfer in some cases, but when students are going out of state, we always recommend that they check with that particular institution on dual enrollment credit. So it really is a great partnership that we have with the high school. We would love to have a space, and we talked about this earlier, where students are able to earn their full associate's degree at the same time they graduate high school, which is possible with both dual and concurrent enrollment classes. So we will continue to work on that, as well as explore the CTE or career and technical education spaces for the high school students. A couple of new programs, particularly related to this area in the North Valley and our Black Mountain campus, and things we've talked about with the administration and CCUSD. We're really excited at Maricopa. The bill passed. We are now able to offer bachelor's degrees, and Maricopa is set, pending accreditation approval, to offer just over a half dozen bachelor's degrees. Paradise Valley, we will be offering a bachelor's in art, elementary education, and special education. So we developed that degree in conjunction with our high school partners, PVUSD, CCUSD, Phoenix Unified School District, to try to meet the need for special education certified instructors. Additionally, we want to make sure that students who go to school here have the opportunity to learn here and then come back and teach and work in the same schools they grew up in. So we think that's important, and we're trying to work with the administration on that as well. So we have site visits next week for this. We have additional accreditation hurdles to go over in the next semester, but in the spring we hope to be able to launch our new program where we can actually start recruiting students for fall 23. Our second bachelor's degree has also been identified. We will offer a BSN, Bachelor of Science in Nursing. Again, this is to meet the community and industry need in the nursing field. Our nursing program is quite robust at Paradise Valley. We have state-of-the-art facilities down at our Union Hills campus. Related to that, the Certified Nursing Assistant, the CNA program, is a prerequisite to get into the nursing program. And so we'd like to offer CNA as well as the accompanying nursing prereqs up at the Black Mountain location, which is ideal for the students at CCUSD who want to go into the allied health fields. So we're excited about that. We're working on the curriculum. That's still in the early stages for fall 24. And then where we go from there with our third bachelor degree is yet to be determined, but I know we're excited to move in that direction. Some of our certificate or associate level programs that we're expanding, I mentioned the CNA and hopefully moving that up to Black Mountain, where the high school students can even take the CNA program as dual or concurrent enrollment. Clinical Research Coordinator and Farm Tech are two programs that our industry partners have come to us and asked for. We're working exclusively with Mayo and Banner Health on those programs. They do not have enough people filling those positions, and so they need a program that is quick and can get students into the workforce, and so we're working on developing that also highly in this North Valley area at Black Mountain. And then business and IT. Computer science is booming at Paradise Valley. That was a program we just started in the last few years. I mentioned our small class sizes. Because of student demand, our faculty members teaching about 50 students in each class. So computer science is something that is growing and something we want to expand and support so our faculty and staff get the same experience. Same with accounting and enrolled agent. Great job market possibilities for students that go into accounting. Enrolled agent is a shorter certificate, and that's a certificate that allows you to practice on your own if you'd like. And so we're working on, again, quick programs that get students in and then into the workforce where they can either make a full-time career out of that or continue to work while they obtain their bachelor's degree. And then even more specifically with our CCUSD partners and Dr. Monroe and his team, we're looking at expanding dual enrollment, and we're working with the high school and making sure they are very clear on our accrediting bodies qualifications for faculty that teach in the high school. So our chairs and our liaisons work with the high school very closely on that. We are working on embedded advisors in all of our feeder high schools, including Cactus Shadows. So we will have one of our advisors on site, hopefully 1 to 2 days a week, and they are advising for college-going culture. We'd love it if they came to PV, but we do not advise solely into PV. We advise students on going to college. And so our advisors have done great work in some of our early high schools that we've adopted this program, so we're excited to expand it up here to Cactus Shadows. Our Black Mountain team continues to come on site for Cactus Shadows High School, as well as offering virtual support. So our enrollment agents, our dual enrollment staff make presentations every semester to the high school parents and students, and will continue to do so. It's been a really good partnership with this leadership team. And then something not to be overlooked by the students who are enrolled in dual or concurrent enrollment, they are college students. So they have full access to all of our libraries, 24/7 research assistance, tutoring, not just for the classes that they're in. We have a partnership with the YMCA, again, just down the street, for students who are enrolled at Black Mountain to get reduced cost as a member to the Y. There's internships available in this area that we're always looking to expand. And so the high school students who are enrolled at Paradise Valley really do have a wealth of resources that we try to make sure that they know about every time they join PVCC. And then I mentioned the bachelor's degree a little bit earlier with elementary education, special education. We know that there's people that work in the high school or elementary schools who aren't in the classroom but may have aspirations to be a full-time teacher. And so we really want to make sure our program is flexible and allows them the opportunity to earn their degree as well as continue to work and make sure they can provide an income for their family. And so our education faculty members done a great job of building a very flexible program, and we're working closely, again, with CCUSD administration on making sure that we adopt something so that current employees can earn that bachelor's degree. Our other career paths with allied health and business, I believe that does line up with the student interest survey that you all sent out in your district. We want to make sure we're offering programs that the community wants and that there's also jobs available. So it's really been a great partnership working with Dr. Monroe and his team to kind of evaluate our courses that we're offering, our programs that we're offering, and make sure we're doing what's right for this part of the community. Additionally, there's the semiconductor plant that you can almost see from here that's being built, and we'd like to be in that game as well, offering a certificate that gets students right in the door, working almost as an apprentice to the engineers in that space, but starting at $60,000. So it's a great apprenticeship and allows them to continue to work while they go to school if they have aspirations of being an engineer. So those are just a few things. I tried to keep it to my time, but
You did a good
happy
job.
to answer any questions if you'd like for tonight, or you can certainly email me, and I'm happy to work with Dr. Monroe on that.
Just a question about the facility. I know there's been plans to build maybe another building there. Do you have any kind of a timeline? I know COVID probably slowed everything down with that, but.
Yeah, that's a great question. So that image in the slide was just the small corner of the property where the buildings are actually built. We own as much property up here as we do down at Union Hill, so there's a lot of land that's undeveloped at this time. So we're trying to partner with the Y as well as the Holland Center to see how we can best use that space. I know the YMCA is interested in expanding their pool to be larger to accommodate the swim team here. I believe locally has to travel really far to go practice. So we're trying to work with the YMCA and their fundraising efforts to build. Academically, I know we're looking at as we expand allied health programs, if we have a need to support building up there, that would be something we would chat about as well. There's a lot of land, and we are happy to partner with other industries on that site that makes sense to support the academic enterprise at that location.
Thank you.
Your presentation was excellent. I went to a large university in my normal college years, but I went to PV to acquire some other courses as an adult. And your classes were top rate. And I really, as an adult, appreciated that small class size, because I learned a lot from PV. So it is just such an excellent resource, and I'm so glad we have that for our students, and glad that you're rolling out the special ed so that we can, our employees can take advantage of that. So,
President Hatcher, that's a great point. That's something that we've really talked about, and bringing in Dr. Hendrickson about having those conversations. We talk about that pipeline, and if we can have a pipeline less than a mile away where the teachers are on our campuses, and we can have them on our campuses and we can have them working in our classrooms, talk about a wonderful partnership and talk about something that's great for our students. Yeah. And if I could just kind of comment on two things. One of the things that I'm really excited, one of Principal Barella really wanted to increase the dual enrollment offerings, and she made a focused point this year of hiring teachers that had those credentials. And it has been so wonderful working with Dr. Berry that we doubled the amount of courses being offered in dual enrollment, and we want to continue that because we want to be able to give our students that opportunity to get their AJAC pathway, to get their associates. Again, because what we're finding when we're looking at clearinghouse data, a lot of our students, it used to be that so many of our students went out of state. That is no longer the case. They are staying in state, and they're starting off at the community college, so why not be able to build and grow our own programs internally so that we are offering what our students need? And the partnership, we have regular conversations, monthly, sometimes weekly, and we appreciate everything that PVCC has done and continue to do, and continue the partnership, because again, the only thing that it's going to do is truly benefit our students and our community. So thank you.
I'll just say, I want to reiterate what President Hatcher said. When I was going back to school to become a special ed teacher, I had to fill a lot of courses, most of them math, and that was where I did it. And it was just like she said, the small classes and the convenience of it were great, great instructors. So thank you for everything that you provide.
Yeah, thank you, Doug, Dr. Berry. Appreciate the partnership. We're really excited that Dr. Hunter's joined the team and leading the team at Paradise Valley. And as you can see, the sky is the limit. So appreciate you guys being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Item 3.3, financial update presentation presented by Ms. Marcy Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you, President Hatcher, members of the board. This evening, I just want to give you a brief finance update, and we want to do some celebrations of where we are with our financial accomplishments in the last year. Oh, there's my clicker. Do you have it? Okay. So we always start off by a strategic plan, what our priorities are, and stay focused. So the budget and the finance kind of encompasses all of these areas: student success, employee excellence, safe environment, effective operations, and community partnerships. So we're going to talk about a few of these things this evening. So the first thing I want to highlight is some of the celebrations that we had for staff, some of the things that the governing board was able to do and the district was able to bring to the board because of some additional funding sources that we had. So the first one, the 6% increase for all staff, that was due to the fact that we had some additional monies given to us from the state legislature this year. Increase in minimum wage, that was something that we really didn't have an option. We are under the law have to increase minimum wage by a certain percentage each year, whatever that cost of living increase is. Increase in benefit plans. So the first thing I remember when I came on board, Ms. Scott and I were in orientation together, and we looked at each other and go, we can do better than this for our staff. And so we went out and we looked and we brought ASBATE in, and it has been just tremendous for our staff, and our staff has really received it well in all the offerings. And I think probably at a future date we'll kind of share with you what some of those exciting additional things are that we've been able to offer staff. And then staff received retention stipends last year, and you have actually on your board agenda this evening to receive them again this year. And those are being funded out of ESSER funds. So that was something that ESSER funds was to assist districts with, was retaining and recruiting highly qualified staff. So we've used that as a retention tool. And then the stipend for doctorate degrees, we heard that loud and clear that that was something we wanted to bring back after we had taken it away for a year. And then hard to fill stipends for special education. So we've got some hard to fill stipends that we were able to offer to our special education teachers this year due to additional funds that we received for our from our federal government in the IDEA programs. So those were also some additional ARP funds that was associated with the ESSER money. Grant highlights, so we always continually are looking for funding from other sources. School Facilities Board has been tremendous to this district in approving grants and approving projects for us. Mr. Mike Santina, he has been a great liaison with them. He has a wonderful relationship, so he was able to get paint approved at Black Mountain and carpet at Sonoran Middle School, security cameras on all of our campuses, chillers, roofs, just whatever. If something breaks, and it's on a campus, he's putting in requests to have the School Facilities Board fund that. So we're very fortunate to have those things done for us this year as well. And then we have other grant opportunities, grant awards that we've been given. School Safety Grant Program was expanded. I think you all know in the budget, the legislature said we need to put more towards school safety. So we were able now to secure funding for the SRO at the high school. We had previously had the SRO at the middle school grant, so we've added the SRO at the high school, which is wonderful. Child nutrition, because there was higher federal money, was able to get more commodities for the district. We purchased some new cafeteria furniture and some kitchen equipment that was much needed. We were able to do that because of the additional funds we got from the federal. ECS grants. So there are grants that are being given out to schools through DES. And these are grants for the preschool and the after-school care programs. But then we also got a AZ On Track grant, which was allowed us to offer all free summer school. We were able to purchase some audio-visual equipment at our schools, our sound systems in our cafeterias and things when we had assemblies needed to be replaced. It was very old, and we were able to do that with these grants because it's used by the before and after school care staff. The ESSER funds, of course, we know that they've bought teacher laptops, student Chromebooks. They've also bought some additional curriculum, and as I mentioned earlier, retention stipends for the staff. And then Kiwanis. Kiwanis is a great community partner. They were very generous in their donation of Chromebooks, or money for Chromebooks to the district, and the tune of about 1,121 Chromebooks from Kiwanis. So we were super excited about that, and it's going to enable us to do a one-on-one initiative at the high school and the middle school with the Chromebooks. And then, of course, the high school tax credit. Ms. Barella was in badly need. If you walk into their gym and you're at a game or you're at a pep rally, that audio-visual equipment just wasn't working anymore. You couldn't hardly understand what they were saying, and we were able then to use some tax credit money for capital projects, and we were able to fund that equipment. And then lastly, I just want to talk a little bit about some of the savings that we've been implementing. Just a little at a time, right? We look for efficiencies wherever we can find them. And that was one of the things when I first came on board. Dr. Monroe said, Marcy, I want you to look at ways we can save money because I want to be able to give our staff more money and I want to be able to purchase capital equipment. And without a bond or an override, it's difficult. So we need to find ways that we can save money and do some other things. So we put new copy machines. I think I had brought this to you earlier in the year, but we brought new copy machines with a less of an annual cost because those old copy machines, the maintenance agreements on those were very costly. So we were able to save money. Transportation had requested they buy some software to do their own diagnostic on what's wrong with our buses. You know, when your engine light comes on, they want to know, be able to diagnose it here. We were sending it out to shops, and that was costing us a lot of money. So by buying this one piece of software, now we're able to diagnose the buses here and save money. And if they still need to go to the shop because we don't have the equipment to repair them here, but at least that saves us from the initial cost. Energy savings equipment, we know that we had entered into a lease, and all of that equipment was installed, and now we are experiencing lower electric costs. And then new transportation, they were so excited. If you talk to your bus drivers, they have push-to-talk phones because we can't have a radio out here because of the distance that everybody drives. So we have push-to-talk phones. We were able to get newer, state-of-the-art push-to-talk phones for our drivers at less money. So these are just some of the simple things that we're able to do. And I encourage all staff all the time, if they see a way to save money, let's talk about it. Let's look into it. So just wanted to give you some of our highlights.
Thank you.
Yeah, President Hatcher, I'll just comment on one thing. I'm really proud of Mrs. Rodriguez, the cabinet, just our leadership in general. With the failure of the bond last year by 751 votes and not working under a current override, we're committed to continuing to innovate and advance the district and create an excellent education for students. And so I think you see some very creative ways. And like Marcy said, every little bit helps. So we're trying to shore up our efficiencies. We're trying to reach out to alternate funding sources that maybe other districts don't traditionally maximize as much as you do. We've had a lot of really good luck. I don't know if you'd call it luck, but with the school facilities board and having a lot of our things funded, although that puts us in a reactive position. But I just want to say I'm really proud of our leadership, our teachers, our principals for maximizing and not sitting on our hands, but continuing to improve the quality of education for kids.
I agree with you, and I was listening to that. I had a lot of mixed feelings. Very grateful that y'all are doing that. I'm frustrated as all get out that I feel like we have to go begging and crawling for every little thing. And I'm not saying we shouldn't try to save. We absolutely should. And you guys do a really good job of that. I guess I'm frustrated. Well, no, I better stop. Okay, thank you. Thank you for doing what you do. Thank you. Anybody else have questions or comments? Okay. Oh, I do have one more question. How's it going with the AEL situation with the governor? Does it look like he's going to call a special session for the aggregate expenditure limit? Can I bring that up in this section? Ask about that?
Well, I suppose it's related to a lot of the things we're talking about because it has to do with spending. And so right now your guess is as good as mine. There has been some rumorings that there was a handshake deal done at the end of last session, that there would be a special session called to address the AEL. So I know I signed on to a letter with many superintendents from around the state asking the legislature to call a special session so that it allows school districts to collectively spend more than the limit that was set in 1980 or what have you. So, but we're still waiting to hear back. But hopefully that doesn't become an issue into the spring like it was last year. So that's kind of the current on that. That's related to all of the spending and a lot of the efficiencies Marcy's talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right, item 3.4, state testing and advanced placement scores from spring 2022, presented by Ms. Nancy Scott and Dr. Patty Jensen.
Thank you. Good evening, President Hatcher, Vice President Fortney, Member Brown. The purpose of this presentation is to inform the governing board members and the public of the test score data from spring of 2022. As you'll see during the presentation, Cave Creek students performed well above the state averages, and according to our standardized test data, it does indicate that we have a strong instructional program in Cave Creek still. So as always, this ties in most directly to our student success as well as our employee excellence, because it is, I will maintain, our excellent employees who are primarily responsible for our student achievement and student learning. So I pretty much already said that. So today we'll be discussing again what is the AASA. We'll be going over results. We'll also be discussing AZ-SCI and those results, and the purpose of the ACT and the ACT Aspire and ACT, which are both at the high school, and those results, as well as our next steps. And then at the end, we'll have an opportunity for questions. So as a reminder, the AASA is Arizona's Academic Standards Assessment, and this is our first year taking these particular tests on these particular platforms. And we're generally very pleased with our performance. However, I think it's important to note that these questions are very rigorous, so passing percentages will seem lower than one might expect or that one might want. Just for me to give you an example of what might an AASA question look like, a third grade question may read something like, on math, there are several geometric figures shown below. Which of them is not a polygon? And then the next question will say something like, why is your answer in question 12 not a polygon? Select all of the correct responses, and then they'll list 5 or 6 responses that would justify why the previous question was not a polygon. So as you see, if you miss the previous question, you're toast. You missed them both. And then the next question, if you said, well, it was enclosed and it had this, and if you maybe missed one of the reasons out of the 6 that they listed, then you miss that question altogether. So it's very difficult and at times tricky. However, our students perform better than most, and we're doing everything we can to help them be successful on those tests.
Dr. Jensen, let me introduce, or let me just interject. Toast is a scientific Just kidding you, Patty.
It flashes up on the screen as soon as they miss it.
But Dr. Jensen, can you comment just on why we weren't able to include our surrounding school districts? I know the board is always interested in comparison data, but can you just comment why it wasn't able to be in the PowerPoint tonight?
Absolutely. So Mrs. Scott and I belong to several different, I'll call them cooperatives, but groups where we meet with the other people in our similar positions in the districts around our area. And we all created an informal, I'll call it, spreadsheet where we reported our data to each other, honestly, we hope. And so we all divulged our data early, as in back when we all received it. Some districts chose not to participate, others did. The state just released data for all of the districts this last weekend. And so we started looking through that data. What I can say is that we do look better than our surrounding districts. There's a few places where one of our neighbors has us by a couple percentage points. One of our much larger neighbors with a bond and an override in place. So they have us in a couple areas, and Nancy and I have already set up times that we're going to be meeting with them to discuss what might you be doing a little bit better in some of these areas, because we definitely we're cooperative, not competitive, and maybe a little bit, but we're mostly cooperative, and we want to learn from each other because they are all of our students. So here's the third grade scores in Cave Creek, and so you can see we're 21% points above the district or above the state in ELA, English Language Arts. And then in math, also 20% points above the rest of Arizona in third grade. In fourth, you see we keep the same trend, at least 20% points above in both areas. In fifth and sixth, we continue to outperform the state. And again, like I said, outperforming our neighbors as well. And I will also add that our current fifth graders had not taken a standardized test up until this moment because of the pandemic. And so they kind of got lucky, I guess, for 2 years. And then they got the joy of doing that this last year. And then Nancy's going to take over.
And as you can see, we've got now the 7th and 8th grade AASA data, and we scored well above Arizona in all areas, both ELA and math, in both 7th and 8th grade. And we'll move on to AZ Sci. So last year with AZ Sci, they did not give us any scores for that. So technically, this is our first year that we received any scores for students. Last year, they used it as baseline data to set up the scores for this year. So please remember that. Last year, when we reported out to you, we were not able to actually give you scores with AZ Sci. So this is essentially our very first year. What's different about AZ Sci is if you look, for example, on the grade 5 test, this covers standards from 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade. 8th grade covers the 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade science standards. 11th grade test, not only do they have to take ACT, that also has a science portion, but they also take AZ Sci, and this covers 9th grade, 10th grade, and 11th grade science standards. All right. Oh, shoot. I always mess this up. Oh, whoops. So let's look at our 5th grade, 8th grade, and 11th grade AZ Sci scores. And again, we double-digit-wise beat our state averages, which we're very proud of, and we continue to work on. 9th grade, our 9th grade students take the ACT Aspire. Again, this is the very first year that our students are taking that ACT Aspire. Within this district, this is actually the first year that any of our students, whether 9th grade or 11th grade, as I talk about ACT, have ever taken the entire grade level ACT. And that's something different than some of our surrounding districts that had a grant through Helios that they've been able to take that ACT for several years, and they have some of that longitudinal data, which we do not have because this is truly the very first year that our entire junior class has taken that, and then also our freshmen taking ACT Aspire. So if you look at our 9th grade ACT Aspire, as I indicated earlier, they take multiple tests within ACT. So you'll see English, reading, science, and math. Reading, I do want to kind of state that reading is really social science. It covers primary source documents within our history class. So really, all 4 core content areas are covered under ACT, Aspire, and ACT, and that's why it's so important that all 4 core areas are working together, and especially during our PLCs, to look at some sample questions, because it directly affects all 4 core areas. And again, I talked a little bit about ACT. We're taking it as the entire junior class. Last year we took it, and then this year we're taking it again. One of the things to think about, and I know you guys have discussed this earlier, but just a couple little reminders. One, we don't have any, again, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier, we don't have longitudinal data for ACT. So we can't compare any of our junior students because not having that data. In a couple of years, what will be nice is that we'll be able to use our 9th grade ACT Aspire to look at growth when those students are 11th graders. This year they're juniors, but next year when they're 11th graders and they take ACT, we can actually start to compare that, as I believe it was Member Busby when we're talking about apples to apples, oranges to oranges. So really looking at that during that time. So again, that purpose. One of the things we are running into, and we're also talking about this with our curriculum consortium, is many of the universities are no longer requiring ACT or SAT to attend the university. I know that our in-state schools, I believe it's to 2024 right now, they're not requiring that as an entrance requirement anymore. Harvard is no longer requiring it as an entrance requirement. And couple things I think came to fruition with that, from one with COVID, because what happened during that, and then some of the scandals that happened with that universal testing. So let's look at our 11th grade ACT data. So again, for it within 11th grade, they had to take 5 exams. They take English, reading. Again, reading is correlated with our social sciences, writing, science, and math. Now let's look at the center component. The composite score is essentially an average for their formulation, their algorithm, for all of the areas together. So the state of Arizona had a composite score of 17.7. Cave Creek Unified had a composite score of 21. When you look at ELA, it sends you to the arrow to the left, and that means ELA is essentially, again, an algorithm that they've created that covers English, reading, and writing, all 3 scores together. STEM is to the right, my right, and that's science and math. So that's how to read that. So I know it looks a little convoluted, but I just kind of wanted to explain those pieces. And again, moving back to looking at the composite score, which is, again, if there is a university that's going to be looking at those scores, they look at just that composite piece.
Mrs. Scott, by the way, showed me a spreadsheet of school districts in the Southeast Valley, the West Side, and the North Valley, and our composite score on the ACT for our 11th graders was the highest of all the high schools. So that was definitely a point of pride.
Absolutely. And again, it goes back to our wonderful teachers that hopefully we can retain with an override. Let's look at some of our AB statistics. IB, International Baccalaureate. As you heard from Aiden, she is a product of our International Baccalaureate program. This last year, we had 6 IB diploma student candidates that fully successfully passed their diploma. If you look at some of the courses and how many of our candidates took those exams, our Cactus Shadows average and the worldwide average for the IB. Because again, IB is internationally scored. And then we also have history, math, physics, Spanish, and theater within there. Again, we're all encompassing. Not only do we focus on that core, but as we're focusing on the whole child, we include the performing and the fine arts. Our AP scores, we've put on our next 2 slides. And we're very proud of our AP scores. And again, our focus is to retain our AP teachers. We don't want to lose them to districts that are close by that are trying to take them for several $1,000s more. Now I'm going to hand it back to Dr. Jensen.
So on this final slide, we discuss our next steps, and there really shouldn't be anything that looks too new here. We're trying very hard, though some of our teachers might not feel that way, to not add new things to their plates, but instead to get really good at some of the assessment practices that we've been trying to put into place, and to making sure that our curriculum, our instruction, and our assessment are all in alignment, and that they all point towards the tests by which we're measured. So a lot of these are things that we've discussed multiple times, all products that come out of our PLCs and our teachers working together. Click. With that, we would be happy to take any questions.
Composite scores. When it says 17.7, is that the same thing as 17.7%? Okay,
No.
what does that mean? Because it looks dismal.
Right. So on a scale, so the highest score that you can receive on the ACT is a 36.
Okay.
So it's on a scale on that with that, and again, it's based off of their algorithm, their grading scales.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
On the science scores, did science standards change? I know when I left, social studies was changing that following year. In other words, did they go to different grade levels? Because if it did, that would make a difference, I would think.
Yes, they did. They moved around like some of the life sciences, the physical sciences, the earth sciences. So they've incorporated all of them within all of the grade levels. That's why when you see AZ Sci and you see that it covers 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade standards, it's the same thing like at the high school. They've now incorporated life sciences, physical sciences, and even earth and space alongside chemistry within that one exam.
So could some of the students potentially not have had what they're being tested for because it switched to a different grade level? For example, it went to a lower, if there's 3 grade
It's
levels,
3.
Does it make sense what I'm asking?
Yes.
Yes, I mean, it's possible, but I think most of our tested level grades, our tested grade levels, they spiral throughout the year with warm-ups and other ways to make sure that students are being exposed to that content. However, one thing I will say is the science has become a lot more process-oriented, and so rather than saying what are 3 types of matter, they might say, Tommy was doing a science experiment, and this is how he set it up. Where did he go wrong? Something like that.
And then just something I just want to mention, I mean, I'm speaking to the choir now, but in case the public is listening, things people need to take into consideration with test scores is that anytime we put a new test in place, scores go down. You can go back through the years and look at that. Scores go down, not just for this district, across the state. Another thing that we need to consider, the public needs to consider when looking at scores, because I'm afraid people are going to jump all over this and say, oh my gosh, Cave Creek is just, is that I know that we still had absences with COVID, in and out and in and out. So instability in the classroom, huge factor. Possibly inexperienced teachers. I know we had a lot of instability with, certain classes, and well, that's going to impact student learning and consequently test scores. All that needs to be considered. And then, of course, when I analyze scores for the purpose of board work, I do like to see that the back years, because I like to follow the cohorts to track is it the grade level or and so I'm missing that, and I know there's nothing we can do about that. Everybody's in the same boat as that. So anyway, and another question: how do we know that the AASA is more rigorous? You can tell that from the practice tests, because we're not supposed to go over the shoulders of our students and look at those tests unless that's changed.
President Hatcher, that has not changed, but even on the ADE website, you can go in and look at the sample tests. the students even have access through the test navigator to go in and take it online, just like as they would within the actual exam. So there's practice tests, practice prompts, all of that on the actual test. And then when we have our school city benchmarks that also have looked, and they analyze past tests with even AZ Merit and whatnot, and try and focus those at their questions based off of those. But again, as we said earlier, and I know we've mentioned it so many times, this is a new test this year, and so hopefully we'll have the same exam for several years so that we can continue to look at that true longitudinal data.
And is the state planning on keeping the same AASA, or is there discussion that they may tweak it? And once again, we're looking at new data next year that's not apples to apples.
So, President Hatcher, good question. That would be great. I did hear that we will stick with Pearson as the delivery model for 7 years. That was like a 7-year bid or something like that. But they did say some of the standards are going to change, which means they'll have to bring in some new test items, which will throw some things off. But that's just with the regular standard review. So hopefully the standards don't change too terribly much.
Yeah, President Hatcher, members of the board, November we have an election. There's going to be a new governor, a new superintendent of public instruction, potentially a new superintendent of public instruction. So we're given those assurances, but you just never know. And we've all seen the pendulum swing both ways. So it certainly would be nice, to Mrs. Scott's point, so we could have some longitudinal data and examine growth and see what's working and what isn't. But hopefully that'll be the case. But we'll see. We'll see.
I just wanted to kind of comment about the scores here, and kind of goes with what President Hatcher was saying. The community, sometimes you see and you hear things about the scores going down, or the schools are not performing. And so you can kind of see some of that coming, but I hope that what we see here is that these teachers and these students in our schools are outperforming in almost every single area, and they are beating, again, not competitive, but they are doing very, very well compared to our neighbors, compared to the state. Obviously, we are doing something right, so I hope that the community sees that and will continue to support that.
I think a lot of that has to do with our district being, the second one in the county to go back to in-person learning. Absolutely. And before that deadline was given to us by the governor, I had several teachers I'd run into out in the community, at Home Depot or Fry's or wherever, and they said, just get the kids back in the classroom and we'll take care of them. We'll get them back learning. Give us a month, get everybody rowing in the right direction. And I think these test scores now, that we can look back from the COVID year and being able to be back in person, I think that's a huge point of pride that our teachers went out and that our students were able to score especially against the state number, double digits, 20% across the board almost. I mean, there's 58 districts in the county, and there's 57 of them that probably love to have those same numbers that we have. So it's a big hats off and a pat on the back for all the teachers and staff that made that happen. And again, great kids in our district that hunker down and really know how to take a test.
Yeah, and President Hatcher, just kind of my final comment. I'm supremely proud of our teachers, our staff, and our principals, all those who contribute to the magic that happens in the classroom. I see this as a celebration and success. However, the board has worked with me long enough to know that we don't sit on our hands, and we owe to this community the very best that we can do. So it's not about working harder or doing more, but it's about working smarter on behalf of our kids. But I appreciate a very thorough presentation by Dr. Jensen and Mrs. Scott. I think, as we've talked about before, this is an indicator. In no way does a test score define an individual and a young person, but this certainly gives us kind of a roadmap on how we can improve. But I'm very proud of the things that we're achieving, and I think the sky is the limit with some of the processes and the people that we've hired as we move forward.
like Member Hatcher said, this is just a snapshot in time of our students, and sometimes they're having a tough day and maybe not test as well. So I mean, but overall those numbers are spot on, just going in the right direction. Two quick questions, and then one, and Dr. Jensen said that you kind of share some of our scores, with our other, maybe some of our neighboring districts. Will the state, as well as the AASA results, will we see the ACT results? Will that come out? Do we see all the state districts on those other tests?
Member Brown, yes, that's a good question. And those are actually available right now. If you go to the ADE website and know how to dig just right, you can find them. Now, the way they're reported, again, we just saw these this morning. We're still kind of trying to figure out what some of those mean, because they've got like a % passing for ACT. You don't really pass the ACT test. So we're not sure what that means quite yet. So they're there. They're just, we need some interpretation still.
And I actually even talked to a counterpart of mine in another district. Some of their data that was uploaded was incorrect, and so ADE is having to go back and fix that. So we're going to give them about a week to go in and fix some of the issues that they're seeing, then really be able to dig into that, just look at the accurate information.
And then there's one other test. I know it's coming up in the action consent, but it was one of the changes of policy for graduation. It's the civics test. And obviously the states raised that percentage from 60% to 70%, but also in that it said that test could then also be given to 7th and 8th graders. I know we started doing that, and now we've bumped it back up to the high school. Are you looking to maybe reconfigure that to go back down to the 8th graders?
We are, because it directly aligns with the standards for 8th grade. And so I know that Mr. Dolezal and myself will be working with the middle school with Sonoran Trails to see about putting in place in 8th grade, and then it goes on to their high school transcript. And then if there is a student that might not pass, they have the opportunity again as 9th graders to take it.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
One more question. Going to Member Brown's point about the fact that we had our kids in school when other districts didn't. And so when you listen to the news across the country, they're reporting 1 to 2 years learning losses. And I'm sure we've not experienced that at all, have we?
President Hatcher, that's a good question. It's hard to measure such a thing, first of all, because I don't know. Once you learn something, I don't know that you lose it. However, you may not have been continuing at the same rate that we would typically expect a person to do. So it's not like a 3rd grader all of a sudden got dumber and became a 2nd grader or a 1st grader. However, they didn't progress at the same rate that they ought to have. So maybe they should be at a 5th grade level, and they're not. It's hard to pinpoint that data to say for sure one way or the other. I do think for social reasons, having our students in person, we probably saw the most benefit there. When I'm looking at our spreadsheet that has preliminary data, some of the school districts that did not, or one of the school districts that outperformed us in a couple areas, was not in person as early as us. So it's hard to say that that's entirely because of that, but I will say for sure, based off of observations, and I would even probably say teachers would agree, socially, absolutely, I think the benefits are far above there. We've also put in a lot of things in place with our ESSER funds, through summer programming, through spring break math boot camp, I think is what we called it, all of those. So we have put other things in place to try to close up some gaps that perhaps occurred because of that. Does that answer the question?
Yeah. And it makes me think of another question, though, and I'm sure you guys are wanting me to stop asking questions. Do we have a way to tell how many of our students may not be at grade level, atypical from what would normally be? Is there any way to judge that through benchmarks or anything like that?
Okay. Good question. That one's going to make me think, and I might have to go back and look at some other things. But yes, we do have The best thing I could say would be looking at some of our more nationally normed assessments that we give students each year. So DIBELS test data, for example. We're trying out some math screeners as well. So a couple other options are there. So that's been normed on students over many, many years. And those years did not include the pandemic. And so for the most part, our students are doing well. I would not say we have a large percentage more at risk. However, we are seeing some odd things that maybe we don't see in other years. For example, if a fifth grader can't decode certain words that we would just assume fifth graders can decode, we're having to go back and kind of fill in some of those gaps. And so those are kind of some of the odd things we're seeing. But statistically speaking, I don't think there's anything huge.
And again, that's directly attributable, more than likely, to COVID and all the dynamics which occurred under COVID. And then all the dynamics that are occurring in education in general.
And we're talking in very broad strokes here, obviously. At a very higher level. And when you drill down to the individual, each of our kids has different needs and may struggle in certain areas, or behavioral or academically. So, I would be remiss if just not to remind us all that we're speaking in very broad strokes. But if I was a parent sitting here and I thought, well, my daughter really struggles in this area and this area, and so we definitely have gaps to fill. But I think overall, there's definitely some things to celebrate, and then there's other things to motivate us to do better for each individual student.
Yeah, and I would like to change my note and say that we're not unique. I mean, this is occurring across not only, the United States for sure, and other parts of the world. So, yeah, it was a unique time. So, any other questions or comments? Alrighty, thank you. Number 4, action consent. Is there a motion to approve action consent as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve number 4, action consent as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Number 4, action consent is approved as presented. Number 5, old business, there is none. Number 6, new business. Let me get my stuff. Legendary teacher resolution. All right. Presented by me, Beth Hatcher. So the background on this is on Thursday, September 22nd, it's Legendary Teacher Day, and Dr. Nicholas I. Clement, Ernest W. McFarland Citizens Chair in Education, NAU College of Education, Educational Leadership, has invited school boards from around the state to support Legendary Teacher Day by passing a resolution. Information will be shared through social media posts, the CCUSD website, and the superintendent's updates. So I need to read that resolution, and then I'll make a motion. The resolution reads as follows. Governing Board resolution in support of Legendary Teacher Day, Thursday, September 22nd, 2022. Whereas the Governing Board of the Cave Creek Unified School District believes we have all had special teachers that made a significant difference in our lives. And whereas the Cave Creek Unified School District Governing Board recognizes that those teachers demonstrated unique skills, allowing them to transform their deep content knowledge into life-changing student learning. And whereas the Cave Creek Unified School District Governing Board highly values the caring family culture created by those teachers. And whereas the Cave Creek Unified School District Governing Board understands that we often do not fully understand and recognize the profound influence teachers have on our future until we've lived our future. And whereas the Cave Creek Unified School District Governing Board realizes the importance of taking time to fully recognize the legendary teachers in our lives. Therefore, be it resolved that the Cave Creek Unified School District Governing Board does hereby affirm its support for September 22nd, 2022 as Legendary Teacher Day. We encourage our entire community to take time on this day and contact the legendary teacher in your life and express your gratitude for the difference they made in your life. Dated this 12th day of September 22nd. 12th September 22nd. So, I move that the Governing Board approve the Legendary Teacher Resolution naming September 22nd, 2022 as Legendary Teacher Day. Is there a second?
Second.
There's two items on here we need to correct, or at least on the printed. On the third whereas, the Cave Creek Unified, we missed putting school district in there. I think you read it as school district as automatically, but in the printed copy, there's a gap. And then, I don't know who's running the clicker. Can you scroll down, please? The very first paragraphs, therefore be resolved that we hereby affirm and support September 24th. That needs to be September 22nd.
Yeah, thank you. When I was reading my board book, I mentioned that, and so I have the corrected copy, which will go into the records correctly, right? Yeah, and be signed correctly. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, just those two items.
Mm-hmm. Any other comments? You guys remember your favorite teacher?
Oh, I've worked with legendary teachers in this district, including one right here. So there's legendary teachers all over this district.
Okay. One thing I do like about this resolution is it says that we may not realize it till we're adults and can look back and think, yeah, that teacher that, was hard-nosed, that was a legendary teacher. You just never know. All right. So it's been moved and seconded to accept this resolution. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. It was unanimous. Item 6.1 is approved as presented. Number 6.2, Western Governors University Student Teacher Letter of Agreement and Cave Creek Unified School District, presented by Dr. Frank Hendrickson.
President Hatcher, members of the board, as we continue to build our partnerships and those pipelines and find those legendary teachers that we just spoke about, this agreement with Western Governors University Student Teaching Letter between Western Governor University and Cave Creek Unified School District would allow opportunities for learning and service on CCUSD campuses. Most often, these are students who are interested in becoming teachers and need their hours of observation and service in a neighboring district. Students from Western Governor University campuses have specifically requested to gain experience at CCUSD. This contract and agreement have been reviewed and approved by our attorney, and it's our recommendation that the governing board approve the Western Governors University Student Teaching Letter of Agreement as presented.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Mr. Frederickson, does Western Governors have a presence here in the Valley? Do they have like a satellite campus, or are they something here in town?
Yeah, Member Brown, members of the board. So they're a completely online program, from my understanding, and so they are a growing presence. They offer a unique programming, and I forgot the name of it, but essentially where as you're in the program, you can test out of classes so you can advance a little bit faster through it. And so it's one of those partnerships that we're going to present to our paraeducators as those that are interested in becoming teachers. This is a great resource and avenue for they can pursue it that way.
Okay, thank you.
They can test out of classes. Is that sort of like a CLEP kind of a thing?
Yeah, so as they enroll in classes, most classes are 6 to 8 weeks, and they can complete those classes in as early or as soon as 2 weeks, I believe, from my understanding with it. So it allows them to go at a faster pace if they choose that.
Oh, that's good. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, it's been moved and seconded to approve item 6.2, Western Governors University Student Teaching Letter of Agreement and Cave Creek Unified School District as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Item 6.2 is approved as presented.
President Hatcher, one quick comment I'll make. Under Dr. Fredrickson's leadership in HR, the board has been able to experience, he probably brings one or two of these about each meeting. And so part of his vision that he shared with the cabinet is to expand these agreements to longer than 1 year, to perhaps 3 to 5 years, with the option to redo the agreement, just so we can be more efficient, with our board meetings and have longer agreements. And so that's something the board can look forward to maybe at the beginning of a school year, where we just renew all these university partnerships for 3, 4, 5 years. So I think that's a very exciting proposition.
Thank you. Number 7, future agenda items. There are none. Number 8, upcoming calendar events presented by Dr. Court Monroe.
Yeah, President Hatcher, members of the board, on Monday, the Cave Creek Unified Education Foundation is hosting our first ever Golf the District event. I've been told that it's almost sold out, which is very encouraging, to raise money for our teacher grants and future student scholarships. On next Wednesday, the 21st, we'll have our first business partner breakfast at the Holland Center at 7:30 a.m. The board members are invited to attend that if they'd like. We are up to 104 RSVPs from our business partners, so including our 20 leaders, there could potentially be 125 people in that room, which is very, very exciting. A lot of new business partnerships and potential networking to happen. On the 26th, we'll have our September break, and then later that week, we'll have our parent-teacher conferences. And then for the first time ever, we'll have a week-long fall break from October 3rd to October 7th. It's exciting to talk to staff members. They can see some light in the distance here in 2 and 3 weeks as they continue to work hard where they get a week off, including our families. The district office will be working 4/10s that week, and then the district office will be closed on 10/7, which is a Friday of that fall break, and then we'll start the second quarter.
Thank you. You mentioned the business partners and the numbers. It feels like there's a lot of energy now that I didn't detect in the past. Just a lot of community support and a lot of energy around the district, and it's really, really nice to see. So thank you for everyone who's making that possible. Number 9, adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 It's unanimous. Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.